So, according to the Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka, Peter Obi, the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, is totally undeserving of another shot at the top prize in 2027. Why? Well, because according to Professor Soyinka, good leadership is predicated on a constant battle to prove your worth, not only by your own actions, but by the way you tackle the blights that your followers unleash on others. And in Mr. Soyinka's assessment, Mr. Obi's followers, known as obedience, regularly blow up the internet with their outrageous insults, nerve-frying threats and bitter bile aimed at him. And in Professor Soyinka's highbrow world, such stinky behavior is beneath contempt and naturally elicits the most righteous distaste imaginable from him. And so, as far as he's concerned, Peter Obi is quite simply unfit to be president of Nigeria. Well, I was rather hoping that we'd hear a clip from Mr. Obi there.
Well, I hope for the sake of the nation that he doesn't express interest in the next election. Because for me as a leader, if there was any proof that he was unfit to lead that country, it's in the conduct which he encouraged among his followers. I know for a fact, and I can give you an instance which proves that he was in control of those forces.
Can you please, what's the instance, Prof?
Well, simply because when he first came to visit me, I remember the moment when he took out his computers, something, and after he made a statement like, "Oh, don't worry, everything, will be taken care of. You don't have anything to worry about these people." He was talking about the quote-unquote obedience. I remember he took out his computer, his phone, and he tapped, a message, there. And he shot me. I was watching him very closely. I didn't see a thing. And after that, everything seemed to be, to be nice and cozy.
Professor Wole Soyinka there. Well, for his reaction, I'm joined now in the studio by the 2023 vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Datti Baba-Ahmed, to talk about this and the other big political issues of the day, including the boiling discontent in the Labour Party, the growing talk of a courtship between the opposition parties, and his assessment of the various pressure points on President Tinubu as he marks 1 year in office. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to join us.
My pleasure, Charles.
You look as fresh as ever.
Really?
Not a hair out of place. So Professor Soyinka delivers a punch to Peter Obi. What's your reaction to that?
The learned elder statesman, Professor Wole Soyinka, he is scared in advance about what good Peter Obi will bring to Nigeria. He's scared in advance that the end is still looking very likely for his principle, for bad governance. And what Soyinka is doing now is an attempted distraction, which I beg you to excuse me from joining issues with Wole Soyinka, please. You and I have much, much better things to do. For all I know, he could continue to throw punches at my principal, at me, as small as I am. He could continue to do that. All I can do, I will grieve in my heart, I will pray for him. You see, intellect does not give you the right to insult anybody. I remember this Soyinka insulting late General Abacha, insulting him to the core, that he was daft, he was that. Nothing gives him the right to do that. He had no rights. Abacha was not an academic. He was a soldier, for God's sake, and a good one for that matter, in his own way, in his own right. I beg you, let us please put Soyinka and his likes aside, we have better things to talk about.
We'll have enough time to talk about a lot of things, and I do respect your wishes there, but I have to ask you whether you think he has a point when he says that by not controlling, or at least trying to control, the online trolls responsible for the insults directed at him, Mr. B, and by extension yourself, are tacitly encouraging such behavior.
As a partial academic, let me tell you that Nobel laureates all over the world are loved and cherished by their people, not just their nationals, globally. I have never heard where Nobel laureates are insulted in the manner that Wole Soyinka is. You're making me to speak about him, I don't want to. Now, go back. Nigerians contested through Peter Obi and me. We said this many, many times. It was a force that came alive, a genuine one, a powerful one, that won election and was taken away. Never mind what INEC declared. There is no way Peter Obi, with all the issues in front of him, and my humble self, can control obedience as they were. Peter Obi entered a canoe without a life jacket, and he paid for it. So it is not the work of Peter Obi to control the obedience. It is the responsibility of Wole Soyinka to maintain his respect and dignity. I could say a few things to Wole Soyinka that will destroy him for good, but I wouldn't say that. Only 3 days ago, the whole world saw his own principal. I'm not here to call names. I wish I could finish this interview. We saw the ongoing president of Nigeria almost kneeling to greet an elder statesman, while people like Soyinka are out there insulting others. So in the heat, in the presence of all the politics and dynamics and everything, decent Nigerians should continue to offer respect to others. You know, I said it before, the ongoing president, even though I do not agree with everything about him, whenever I call him uncle, he laughs, I laugh, and we walk away. Why start insulting people? People like me, we describe, we give objective assessment, and they say we insult. And we don't. It's not our history. It's not our upbringing. I have never insulted anybody. But why should a Nobel laureate make it because he knows how to speak English? 1960s and 1970s English? I think all he is trying to do is an attempted distraction, which Peter Obi and myself have excused ourselves. We will not react to that Nobel laureate. He should please go and see how other Nobel laureates are respecting themselves, holding the honor all over the world. Charles, let's move away from this man.
Well, nevertheless, just one more thing on that, because you have talked about the fact that, you know, you don't insult people.
Yeah, I don't.
And he says that the obedience have consistently been insulting him. Do you think he deserves an apology? Since to a large extent those people,
can I ask you a question?
People are your followers.
Look,
I mean, do you think he deserves an apology, or you wouldn't go that far?
What is, not who is, what is Wole Soyinka? At a time that the Nigerian armed forces have been killing hundreds of Nigerians by mistake, at the time that our currency is hopelessly depreciating, and so many other issues. What is Wole Soyinka? I beg you for the last time, let's move away from this man.
Okay, let's move on and let's turn briefly to the other toxic debate at the moment about the future of the Labour Party, your party, because in a sense there is a parallel there to the issue of non-intervention that Professor Soyinka was talking about, and I'm not his spokesman and I don't necessarily support his point of view, but there is a parallel, isn't there, on that issue of non-intervention, because to many observers the Labour Party has become polarized and toxic, and we don't seem to be hearing of you and Mr. Obi intervening to end that conflict. Certainly not in the public domain.
Peter Obi and myself, we have very special ways that we operate. It's not subject to debate or for public discourse. We know how dangerous the Nigerian political terrain is. And Labour Party is the party to contend with for 2027 without undue interference from the powers that be. I'll just summarize it as such. We have done what has never been done in the history of Nigeria, and we're ready to repeat it again very easily.
Nigeria has under the Labour Party.
Nigeria has never seen such unity as between Peter Obi and myself. Check my background, and I, against all odds, I supported wholeheartedly a Christian southeastern candidate in the presence of two Muslim northern candidates. One of them a Muslim ticket, because I believe they were not the right candidates, and it was time for Nigeria to go for someone like Peter Obi. Nigeria has never seen such unity like during our time.
Is that your phone ringing?
Sorry about that.
I'll switch it off. Somebody's desperate to talk to you.
I know, sorry about that.
Fairly persistent.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, but as you...
And don't be persistent with Wole Soyinka. Let's move out of this.
We've left
he
Wole
said,
Soyinka.
she said.
We're talking about the Labour Party.
I mean, without undue interference from powers that be.
Yeah, but if
we can contest, and any day, anytime we will defeat any candidate, irrespective of how they twist the constitution, irrespective of how many English language words that they change. We will still beat them.
Well, I mean, if you're taking into account what you suggested there, the intervention of the powers that be, which I presume you're attributing to what's going on inside the Labour Party at the moment. I mean, I'm wondering if you're factoring in all the concerns and their potential impact on your chances at the next general election, assuming you're planning to give it another go in 2027.
Sorry, put your question again, please.
What I'm saying is that you talked about intervention from the powers that be. In other words, you're attributing what's going on in the Labour Party to outside intervention. I'm saying that if you factor in all those concerns and the direction of the Labour Party and the potential impact of those interventions on your chances at the next general election, assuming you're planning to give it a go in 2027, what do you see?
These differences, these nuances within the party very easily disappear the moment the whistle is blown and it's time and they see the right candidate for a party.
Yeah, but it's affecting the confidence of the people. I mean, people are watching what is going on. Social media is swamped by viewers saying that it does seem to them like the Labour Party is coming apart at the seams.
No, this is what I told you, that these things very quickly dissipate and give way to the genuine party that it is once the time comes. Because come 2026, and you begin to see what is going on in other parties, particularly APC, the ongoing presidency now, with the distrust, and then, of course, the most fundamental, their failures. But sadly, Nigerian politics is not about governance. It is about escorting people to achieve their individual political desires. Unfortunately, sadly, it is. Only weeks back, a number 2 refused to board a certain machine and travel out of the country. What does that begin to tell you? When the number 1 was out. I would not dwell so much into this, but when the time comes and the distrust shows, they know each other more than we probably know them. So the problems of Labour Party is child play comparing to what is going on there. I mean, I don't want to call names, but Femi Rojamila is much too smart for that number 2. The lady senator is too loyal, too faithful to have fallen into the schemes of that number 2. Because they know him. It is only after somebody falls that he can rise. And he who lives by the death of others shall die by the survival of others. So if I were you, leave out the problems of Labour Party. These people are in government. They can do and undo in the same way they can do and undo themselves. He couldn't even travel out of the country. Nobody's asking why. Go and ask why. Initially, the plan was to go with a chief of staff, and then he passed away. So they know each other. They are busy causing problems in Labour Party. I would say leave Labour Party alone.
Right. Well,
leave Labour Party alone. Go back and put your heads together. Sort the problems of Nigeria and do it quickly.
Well, we'll come to the problems of Nigeria, but as a politician who, along with your principal, Peter Obi, tried to convince Nigerians that you and the Labour Party would set Nigeria on a course different from the old guard politicians, don't you have the fear and the concern of a soiled reputation as a result of what is happening in the Labour Party?
Not at all. In fact, we hold our heads high. What we will look at is where are the campaign promises of Labour, of APC, or of the ongoing government? What have they achieved?
We're coming to that.
And if it were us, what could we have done?
We're coming to that.
Right. So skip this and let's get there.
Well, we're going to get there, but there's a saying that if you want to eat a pot of hot soup, you start at the corners of the plate.
This is a cold ice cream.
You prefer the ice cream to the soup, do you? Okay, well, let's move away from the boiling discontent in the Labour Party, which is clear for everybody to see. And let's look at what you have on the ground. I mean, let's assume things are shipshape and seaworthy in the Labour Party.
Yes.
And let's look at the structure that you have on the ground since the 2023 election. You've got one state governor out of 36 states and a few members of the National Assembly. Do you have the structure and the ability to really raise the temperature and carry out the kind of electoral challenge that would not only rattle both the APC and the PDP in 2027, but possibly deliver Aso Rock to you? I mean, I'm wondering how strong a position you're in, or is your ability still quite constrained at this point, especially adding that to the problems of the Labour
Your
Party?
question is already answered, because we answered this question in 2023. And then
it's a new year.
Well, we answered your question in 2023. Then IREV was switched off. And then they returned the results manually. And then the constitution was twisted. And then the meaning of English language was changed. Your answer is given. We won 2023. I will never stop saying it. We won 2023. Now, Labour Party as of today is in a better state than CPC was in 2013-14 leading up to 2015. Far better than it was. Continue looking at the failures, the worsening insecurity, the declining economy, and the aggravated corruption that is going on. Add that to when Nigerians will now wake up to the realization that beyond 2027, there is probably a grand scheme to dismember Nigeria into 6, possibly, autonomous zones, because there is no way to explain the failure, and because the only way is to carry those failures and run away.
Well, let's take this bit by bit.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, you have said that, and you've been consistent in saying
Yes.
that you were turfed out in 2023. Do you, given that belief that you have, do you have a master plan going forward to achieve your ends, which is essentially to take the keys of Aso-Rock, which you say belongs rightfully to you? Because clearly there's a lot of tactical and opportunistic play in this race, but I'm wondering whether you can really make things difficult for the APC on your own, or whether some sort of alliance or coalition or merger with the PDP and NNPP is the only way that you can pull it off, given the realities on the ground.
The key word from your question is only. It cannot be the only way, because we went alone and we did it. On a normal day, a standard politician is always, even when you won clean and you're in power, you would always want alliances, even for added comfort. So it goes without saying, we would love to expand our spheres of influence. We would love not just PDP, NNPP, SDP, and others all to come together. We would love that to happen. There is safety in numbers. I think we've spoken a lot now about the party. Can we just move on?
Again, we're getting, you've got time, don't worry.
All right.
You're going to have enough time to stick your knife into the APC and really turn the screws there. But I mean, do you...
It should surprise you to know that I don't even want to talk about APC.
Right.
I want to talk about
governance.
I want to talk about democracy.
Well, they're the ones
today.
in power, so you'd have to, by extension, talk about
anyway,
them.
Go ahead.
But do you admit, though, that after 9 years of incumbency, the APC has full control of the machinery of state and is therefore stronger and able to absorb whatever you throw at them?
I am never scared. If only you were playing by the rules and you were clean and you were winning your elections, I could be scared of you. If you were legit, I would be scared of you. I would respect you, actually, if you were legit. You see, your own Tunji Oseni, I remember clearly just before the final, after the declaration, and he says, so you think you've won what? So brazenly, break the law, do what you feel like. What do you think you have won? I'm not impressed by someone calling himself a president when I can see through him and know that through his history there is a fake certificate. There was forfeiture, there were many things I don't want to talk about now. I'm not scared about a so-called number two, whom I don't want to talk about. People fallen, people failed surprisingly, and I can never be intimidated or scared by people who do not play by the rules. Look, you're talking about 9 years. I would tell you that for 24 years, the ongoing president was in control of Lagos. We defeated him in Lagos, and you have the results. APC and PDP did not have 60% of the Labour Party votes in FCT that they are ruling. So I am never scared, because we are if we're in a democracy, it is the people's power that we use. And we're using the people's power, not the armored tanks of the Nigerian army, which belongs to the Nigerian people, not the barrels of the gun, not the tear gas that the Nigerian people are afraid of. Okay? So at any day, if there is an election again, believe you me, the come out will defeat them. It's left for them to go and twist the constitution again, change the meaning of English language, 3-letter words, and declare by 4 a.m. with all the dynamics that happened before 4 a.m., which, you know, when we say things are unspeakable, it was unspeakable why it had to be by 4 a.m.
Right, but in the context of what you believe happened at that time, and given your clear fervor for driving Nigeria in the right direction, and in order to achieve that, you would have to find a means of taking power away from the people who are controlling it now. Has there been some communication between you, the Labour Party, the PDP, the NNPP about a possible merger or coalition or alliance ahead of 2027, or there hasn't been and there won't be?
On several occasions, I did tell you that I don't want to overstep my limits.
Right.
As a loyal party member, we have our leader, and then I have my own leader, Peter Obi. Please allow them to speak to you on these matters.
Okay.
I am more interested in abuse of power and how Nigerians are taking and playing with democracy.
Okay. Well, let's move then and assess those 9 years in office from the point of view of President Tinubu's first year in power. Help us look at the various pressure points on him as he prepares to enter his second year, because we seem to be hearing lots of howling complaints about virtually everything.
I will talk about only one thing: legitimacy. It's not worth your while, not worth my while, to speak about economic policy, insecurity, and all this. It's not, because the answer is already out there. Everybody knows it.
Yeah, but people want to hear you articulate it.
Yes.
Because you personify the people you represent.
Thank you. I'm honored to hear this from none other than Charles Aniago.
Please.
Thank you.
I mean, it's
I'm
pretty
honored.
obvious, isn't it?
I mean, look, this is not child's play. Put it this way. People are dying. People are being killed out there. Is there anybody that is telling me he does not know about this? What are they waiting to hear again? Is there anybody that does not spend the naira to buy any item? I know these things.
There goes your phone again.
I have to switch it off. I'm
fairly
sorry.
persistent,
I'm really sorry about this to the viewers. I do apologize.
That's okay.
Well, you know the kind of work I do. I can't afford to be off the radar.
Yeah.
2 institutions, big hospital and all that. So I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Please continue.
Yeah, all right. Yes.
I
will speak about only one assessment, which is legitimacy, the pressure point of legitimacy. That I will not go into talking about his economic policy, because the answer is out there already.
But the reality is that he is the president of Nigeria. The reality is that he's running this country.
I have never...
And you are now in the opposition. So it makes sense for you to assess what he's been doing since he got into office. I mean, the legitimacy question is a moot point now.
Charles, let's try and be on the same page. Your question is valid and a strong one. My answer to you is even more rhetorical and ironic, because I'm saying that I wish to answer just one aspect, because the answers to what you want is actually being felt out there by all and everybody, unless if you're going to lie to yourself. Now, why should I, before the elections, I campaign on that? After the elections, I campaigned. Before the elections, I warned Nigerians. We all warned Nigerians about this is what is going to happen if you have such a man as your leader. It is now happening. Look, your time is valuable. My time is valuable. I would rather talk about more fundamental things are saying that there is hunger out there. There is unemployment leading into insecurity. No, the kind of hunger that is in the stomachs is different from the kind of hunger that is in the head, that is different from the kind of hunger that is in the heart. The human mind is the most powerful tool I can say God created on earth. And it is the human mind that will drive the success or failure of societies. The Nigerian society now, what is happening? The mind is not a physical object. We claim to have democracy, but end it with a question mark. Do we have democracy? In reality, 16 president-stroke heads of states, 9 of which were not elected, while we had a judiciary that served alongside them. So if we have one that I still say is questionably constitutional, now there is nothing wrong. Like it or don't like it, every human society must have a leader. That's why we have Tinubu today as a president. How he got to power, Nigerians are saying doesn't matter. Well, so far, aided by the court, doesn't matter. But let me just break a little and say something in general. Because many a times I stand the unique opportunity, I call it opportunity of being misunderstood. You see, there was a time Albert Einstein said to Charlie Chaplin, I admire you. You don't say a word and the world admires you. Then Charlie Chaplin says to Albert Einstein, I admire you even more. Nobody understands you, yet they even admire you more. I'm not comparing myself in any way to those gifted people or in that context. But you see, if you don't speak about that, people are hungry, people are tired, no. That's not my conventional kind of talk.
Well, speaking
what
about
I'm
what you want to
saying
speak
now
about, then.
is that I have been saying before, and I wish to repeat now, which I was not heard, is that democracy is not that government of the people, for the people, by the people. Maybe today I will start to be understood. Democracy is government for the people who have earned their freedom. Are Nigerians ready to earn their freedom? Question mark. It is government of the people who are ready to defend their rights and civil liberties. Are Nigerians ready to do that? It is government by the people who are ready to go and extract their dividends. Are Nigerians ready to do that? If you cannot practice democracy, democracy is not for you. Now, these are the fundamental issues. Without, or rather with a violated constitution, do you have democracy? And the answer is no. With a violated constitution, with due respect, the courts have the power to do all and everything. You see, the sun and the moon are both celestial objects, emitting light in different intensity. So, in a very bright full moon, and we have an argument, and we go to court, and I say it was bright, it was in the daytime, because I could see your face, I could read this text. It could be interpreted as daylight. And in daytime, with cloud cover, and you can't see the sun, they ask, was the sun visible? No, because there was cloud cover. My friend, it was dark. And you lose the case. The courts are powerful. The courts can do and undo. The courts are everything. After what God Almighty does with his creation, is what next to what God does with his creation, is what authority does with their people. What is authority? The authority is not the presidency. Authority are the courts. And that is why today you have Tinubu as president. It is not by accident that they call authority power, political power. Because if any person or groups of persons do something and it stays, that is power. We rig the election and it stays, that's power. The difference between a murderer and a conqueror is in the number of people they kill. If you go and kill half a nation and install the government, you are a conqueror and you get someone smart to go and write the history. You are loved by your people, you didn't kill anybody and all those and all those. It is about power, brute force. This is not democracy. Others can fight, but we're too civilized to do that. It was easy to take over the Eagle Square. It was easy to stop Tinubu from being sworn in. But we didn't do it. We didn't do it. Decided, let's have faith in the court. What did the courts do? The Constitution says, and you must read, and FCT. They changed the meaning of English language. Now, so long as you are ready to accept anything, everything will happen to you. Nigerians are ready to accept anything, and that is why everything is happening to us, Nigerians. Do we have the right to continue complaining? I put that question out there. The comfort, let me finish. The comfort that Nigerians are enjoying by not defending their constitution, by not coming out. And by the way, okay, Nigerian constitution provides and allows for Nigerians to defend their own constitution. When I say that the constitution itself belongs to the people and that it is not over, I repeat, it is not over. Nigerian constitution itself is that belongs to the Nigerian people as a people, when they are guided in the course of the nation and in the course of democracy, can do, and because it is the Nigerian people who the Constitution says, we, the Nigerian people, have decided to bring this Constitution into being.
I'm going to come in there because we've got, you will not be surprised to know, because we've been talking for a while, we've got about 2 minutes left on this conversation.
Unbelievable.
We've been talking for almost 45 minutes now. Wow. What's your message to the Nigerian people then as they approach the 1 year mark and beyond under the leadership of President Tinubu?
Once again, please try and bear with me. Tinubu and his presidency are irrelevant to me. The Nigerian people and how they take everything sitting down is the problem now.
So that's your message.
That is my message.
Right.
Because we think we have a democracy. This is a questionably constitutional democracy where anything and everything can happen. I repeat, for a people that are ready to accept anything, then everything, failed economy, deadly insecurity, aggravated corruption will happen to those people.
So basically, as you sow, so shall you reap, and that's what is happening.
Not
here.
so. As you allow, Nigerians, what we allow, so shall we live. Those countries that fought, you see, slavery ended, partly struggle, partly allowed, but there was a struggle. Colonialism ended, partly struggle, partly allowed, but there was struggle. Military governments ended, partly very, very small struggle, but then it was allowed. We woke up one morning and late General Abacha of blessed memory was dead. Nobody fought for democracy. General Abdul Salam, being the gentleman that he was, being the kind of heart that he had, in 10 months established this. For people to come, he didn't extend by 1 day. For people to come and be committing all sorts of crimes, bending, destroying the constitution that he left to stay in power, to rig elections, to destroy Nigeria. Now, I think why I keep telling you that Tinubu and his people are completely completely irrelevant to me now. We Nigerians, it is our headache.
And on that note, I want to thank you very much indeed. It's been absolutely brilliant talking with you. Yusuf Datti Baba-Ahmed is the 2023 vice presidential candidate of the Labour Party. Thank you ever so much. And I shall reach across the divide and shake your hand.